What We Need Is Here by Wendell Berry. Horseback on Sunday morning, harvest over, we taste persimmon and wild grape, sharp, sweet of summer's end. In time's maze over fall fields, we name names that rest on graves. We open a persimmon seed to find the tree that stands in promise, pale in the seed's marrow. Geese appear high over us, pass and the sky closes. Abandon, as in love or sleep, holds them to their way, clear in the ancient faith. What we need is here, and we pray not for new earth or heaven, but to be quiet in heart and in eye clear. What we need is here. When I titled my sermon, Wade in the Water, excuse me if I have a little raspy voice today, but must be the ragweed season. Red tide. New climate for me. But when I titled the sermon, Wade in the Water, I certainly was not picturing people wading through the destructive floodwaters of a hurricane. Our hearts certainly go out to all the people caught in this devastating situation, and I know that many of you can identify. In the African American spirituals, water is often referenced and is frequently a symbol of hope for something better, like crossing the River Jordan creates an image of something better on the other side. The Israelites escaped Pharaoh's army by wading into the Red Sea. And the story is told of Harriet Tubman of the Underground Railroad singing the song to warn runaway slaves to wade in the water to throw the dogs off their scent as they were being hunted down. Wading in the water or crossing over the water evoke images of change and transition, moving on to something different. While change is often chosen as a path to something better, something else that change and transition can do is bring loss and a sense of grief. After crossing the Red Sea, the Israelites decided wandering around in the desert with Moses wasn't nearly as much fun as they thought it would be. And soon they were angry with him, wanted a new leader, and were remembering with great nostalgia the good old days of Egypt. Sometimes change is forced on us, and sometimes it's a choice we make. Either way, there may be a variety of emotions associated with times of transition. We are given more than one chance to start over. Right now, we're in the midst of the Jewish High Holy Days, which begins a new year on the Jewish or the Hebrew calendar. It's also the first month of the Islamic calendar. This is a time in both of these religious traditions for introspection and self-reflection. The Jewish calendar begins twice each year, once in the spring when Passover occurs and once in the fall. The spring month, according to Arthur Waskow in his book Seasons of Joy, is when the families of Jewish slaves in Egypt first saw themselves as the united Jewish people. It is the month of the beginning of our freedom, he writes, when God enters history and reshapes our tangible political and social life. According to tradition, the month of spring is the first month of the year, the head of the months. And yet, in the early fall, Waskow writes, for 2,000 years and more, the Jewish people have celebrated Rosh Hashanah, which literally means head of the year. Perhaps, he suggests, Rosh Hashanah is the new year for renewal, a time to focus attention on ultimate spiritual truth. It is the month of catching our breath after the hot, dry winds of summer, although I don't think they've passed yet here. So the year begins twice, and Waskow suggests that perhaps it's to teach us that we can never get started with a single separated part of ourselves, with politics alone or spirit alone, with the Jewish people alone or the universal human being alone, the body alone or the head alone. We need both, always both, to begin. So Rosh Hashanah began last Sunday evening and ended on Tuesday evening. And then Yom Kippur begins this Tuesday evening and ends on Wednesday evening. The days from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur are, as I mentioned, called the Jewish High Holy Days. It's a time for this personal inventory, to repair relationships, to make amends, to ask and also to give forgiveness, to turn things around when one realizes that they're not necessarily going in their desired direction. And if one hasn't been so thoroughly wicked that they are without a prayer of making it into the book of life, then they have a chance during these days to change their course of action, return to their path of decency, whereby God will then write their name in the book of life. The typical greeting for these holy days is, "May you be inscribed in the book of life for a good year." There's a deep and rich tradition associated with everything that happens during these days of awe, as they're sometimes called, that might take some of us who are not steeped in that tradition a lifetime to understand. Unitarian Universalists are cautioned about misappropriating elements of other traditions. But what we draw from our Jewish and Christian heritage, we specifically state, are teachings which call us to respond to God's love by loving our neighbors as ourselves. The valuable lesson for us in recognizing the Jewish High Holy Days, as one of my colleagues put it, is about reviewing our lives, about atonement and right relationships, about renewal and integrity for the long haul. Living with integrity requires knowing ourselves and living from our deepest values. Now, Parker Palmer wrote, "Afraid that our inner light will be extinguished or our inner darkness exposed, we hide our true identities from each other. In the process, we become separated from our own souls. We end up living divided lives, so far removed from the truth that we hold within that we cannot know the integrity that comes from being who and what you really are." So Parker Palmer kind of lives by this idea of living very close to your highest ideals. And he believes that we need this to deal with the world's madness, and we are certainly seeing a good deal of that right now. It's within us. It's in the soul, this ability to focus on our deepest values. And it's also between us. It's available to us in community, within us and between us, who we are inside and who we are connected to one another. One thing that Unitarian Universalist churches strive to do is invite people to show up and feel safe, being who they truly are. And yet, that's not really so easy, is it? To just really be yourself with people. It's a lot harder than it sounds. And part of the problem is how difficult it is to really know who we are, discover our true self. Doing that is sometimes some of the hardest work we could ever do. We have a great ability to have blind spots or be in denial about ourselves. At least I know I do. I can't really speak for you. But we have a lot of parts, and some of those are hiding from us sometimes. We may keep certain parts hidden on purpose. This causes us to live divided lives. We don't show up as whole, our whole self. Perhaps the feedback we get when we allow ourselves to be ourselves, open and therefore vulnerable, threatens our sense of safety or selfhood. Openness and vulnerability must be met by openness and vulnerability. So we do need to be careful where we are when we open ourselves to this. And that's why we work so hard to create safe communities in our Unitarian Universalist congregations where we can share hopes and dreams and our visions for the future for our own selves and for our congregations in a safe place. There's a story about a cracked pot. Someone is carrying the cracked pot, not realizing it, and they're walking along this path that looks pretty barren. And then on the way back, they notice all these beautiful flowers have grown because where the pot was cracked, the water was leaking and watering the land where all these lovely flowers grew. And the cracked pot was not aware that it was watering seeds that would grow into flowers. What it held inside spilled out and had an effect on the surrounding environment. We can do that too. We can let part of ourselves spill out and have an impact on what's around us. And we could do that in a few ways, couldn't we? In Japan, there's a centuries-old art of repairing or fixing broken pottery with a special lacquer that's dusted with powdered silver or gold or platinum. And then the cracks or the flaws in the pottery become an event in the life of the piece of pottery, which then becomes a piece of art. An event that created an opening or space for something beautiful. There's an old adage, where you stumble and fall, there you will find pure gold. If you're like me, you've got a few rough patches. I wish that it hadn't taken so many decades to understand that our pain and our struggles and our mistakes and our insecurities are mine shafts where pure gold resides. The priceless raw material available nowhere else in life is the material of one's real potential and the source of dazzling hope that others desperately need to see. So we come together in a community like this, with all of our hopes and our fears and our past pain and our gold inside of us. And we're here to create something for one another and something for the larger community. And we kind of ended up here in an odd way, I guess. I had imagined myself having lots of leisure time and traveling, and I think you had some ideas about something different, and through some, I don't know, what will we call it? We'll find out, won't we? We've ended up together to figure out how we can work with one another to make this congregation what you want it to be. And already I've seen so much amazing stuff and so many wonderful people and leaders and followers and great musicians and a desire to enjoy one another's company and to do good stuff in the world. So I feel really lucky to have landed here. And I intended to spend some time down here in my retirement, so that's okay. I'll just work a little while I'm here and while I'm there too. So yeah, there's a lot of travel in my life still, and not as much leisure, but I'm excited by what's possible here. I've actually watched your congregation for many years. When I did youth work, I slept on the floor of the old church building with lots of teenagers and adults who had brought them down here to take them to the beach, and everybody got horribly sunburned, and we all felt like terrible chaperones. We forgot to tell them to reapply. But this is a beautiful space, and you've been doing wonderful things over the years. So I know we can move forward with what kind of dreams and hopes you have. One of the things that Parker Palmer talks about is the shy soul. Not the shy person, but the shy soul. And that in order to invite people into community, invite people to be with you, sometimes you have to sit back and be a little quiet and wait. A lot of us like to just kind of run in and maybe take a picture or, we want to get a part of something. But if you are going on a safari and you want to see the animals, you probably won't see much if you're rushing out there all the time to get the close-up or whatever. You might have to sit back, lean up against a tree, just kind of breathe and watch. I'm going to try to make myself sit back and breathe and watch, because sometimes my desire is to just jump in and say, hey, I can do that. I know how to do that. But I really want to make myself sit back with you and see what you do and how you've been doing it, because you're doing something really well. And I want to help you further that in whichever way you want to do that. So I think I'm kind of leaving my script, because those are the things I really wanted to say to you today and to be here with you. Next time I'll know where the chalice is. And as I said, I'm just looking forward to being with us as one human family, a unique community, as we discern the ways in which our shared vision will unite us in reaching out to one another as well as to the larger world in harmony with the principles and values that we hold in common. Thank you.